I like background music a little. Oh, I'm sorry. Should we okay? Okay. Okay. Sorry for the break.
Oh, that's quite all right. As I was saying, when we moved to Rosedale Park, we moved into an area of Detroit that was pretty affluent, and it was not predominantly white, it was all white. Once we moved into the neighborhood, we actually literally experienced people pouring gasoline on our lawns in the shape of crosses and burning them on a regular basis. People coming with their cars and driving in circles around on our lawns just to dig them up on the weekends. I existed in a situation where half of the kids in the neighborhood wanted to kill me, and the other half of the kids wanted to protect me. And I was amazed at how many people came out and decided that they did not want these gangs of hooligans attempting to beat me up as I tried to go to school. And I was going to the elementary school that was Thomas A. Edison School. It was at Grand River and Rutland. And I had to walk there on a daily basis, and people used to literally chase me with baseball bats and try to beat me up simply because we lived in the neighborhood. Um, I was very young at that stage. I was 7, 8 years old,
Wow.
so it was difficult for me to cope with, and I had a problem resolving it with my parents as to why do you even want to live here? And as my dad explained to me, written on the deed of the home that we purchased was that that home could not be sold to a black person. And it literally said the house could not be sold to N-words. It was written in the deed, as it was written in most of the deeds of all the houses in that neighborhood. The only reason why my dad was able to get it is because his name was nondescript. His name was Ive. Ive has no ethnicity to it whatsoever. And it was hard for them to believe that a person with good credit and with the ability to purchase a house named Ive would be a person of color. And he had the individual that I named after, um, well, in a sense, I'm named after. My granddad's name was Lester also, but his friend's name was Lester, and he owned a pawn shop on Woodward Avenue called Zenith Loan, and he posed as my dad all the way up to the closing so that we could get this house. And when they got to the closing, my dad, this gentleman named Lester, and their attorney showed up at the closing, and then it was revealed that my parents were actually purchasing the house, and they did not want to go through with it, but they were forced because they had already gone through all the papers, everything was approved, it was a matter of signing it and handing over the keys, and they had no choice. That's how that house was purchased. So it was very difficult when you say violence in Detroit. You think of gunfire and people chasing and shooting and robbing and mobbing. It's not always a situation as that. I lived in a very affluent neighborhood. My neighbors were executives at the AMC automotive company at that time. The people that lived across the street from me were judges. My neighbor to the left was Senator Frank Kelly. And there were still kids running down the street with aluminum baseball bats attempting to beat me to death because I was a person of color. So violence, it extends itself in a lot of different ways that one may not think would happen in the city of Detroit.
Well, thank you. That was a very interesting story. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, what do you know about the history of Detroit? Like, when it was first founded?
Well,
And
I'm not very well versed. At one time, I may have known it, but I've forgotten a lot of those things now. I know that Detroit was founded in a way that was not inclusive of people of color. There was a lot of people from the Underground Railroad that lived in the metropolitan Detroit area, and it allowed people of color a way to get to Canada at one point in time. And then when the automotive boom came, well, everyone came from the South to the Detroit area to get jobs. That's how my family moved here from. That's how my family moved here from the South in order to.
Mom, the mic picks up everything. Even the
Okay,
papers.
let's stop.
Let's just
Pause.
close it.